2 words, predatory AI. Harry and Meghan used them on the 3rd of August in a public statement that named Elon Musk, named Big Tech, and accused an entire industry of designing artificial intelligence to exploit families and children. USA Today carried it, The Telegraph picked it up. The framing was parental, deliberate, and loaded with moral authority, and the statement landed on screens around the world through an automated targeting platform operated by their own digital advisor, a man named Rowan Pike, who had quietly spent the last 14 months building the Sussex media operation on the same recommendation algorithms the couple had just called predatory. That is where this story actually begins. I want to walk you through what happened next because the sequence matters considerably more than the headline. By the time you reach the end, you will understand why a moral campaign against artificial intelligence ended with their own advisor's dashboard going dark, his contracts voided, and a phrase that was supposed to condemn Silicon Valley sitting instead as a receipt against the people who published it. The predatory AI phrase will come back several times in this story. Each time it will mean something different. Pay attention to when it changes. The Sussex campaign against predatory AI did not arrive from nowhere. It was assembled over months with the kind of care that suggests professional strategy, not spontaneous outrage. Harry had spoken about children's mental health and screen time in 3 separate interviews between March and June. In the first, he described a father's fear. In the second, he named algorithms specifically. In the third, he used the phrase engineered addiction, a term that would reappear in the August statement nearly word for word. Meghan had recorded a podcast segment on algorithmic harm in May, citing peer-reviewed research about recommendation systems pushing harmful content to vulnerable teenage users. She mentioned a Stanford study by name. She quoted a passage about attention capture. The language escalated carefully, building from personal concern to policy advocacy across 4 months of coordinated public appearances. By July, the couple's advocacy team had positioned them as credible voices on technology accountability. Speaking invitations arrived from 2 universities and a European Digital Policy Summit. Panel offers followed. A consultancy attached to a New York Speakers Bureau began circulating a rate sheet for the Sussex anti-AI platform. The crusade was becoming a revenue line. And the operational infrastructure behind every one of those appearances, every clip, every social post, every audience-optimized video preview was managed by one person, Rowan Pike. He had been with the Sussex digital team since early the previous year. His title was Digital Strategy Advisor. His actual job was broader. Pike controlled the targeting dashboard, a third-party platform that uses engagement prediction, audience segmentation, and recommendation optimization to maximize content distribution. He selected the tools, he approved the vendor contracts, he renewed the licenses, he managed the analytics packages that determined how Sussex content reached audiences. Every video thumbnail generated by an algorithm, every preview clip optimized for click-through, every audience reach projection that shaped the couple's content calendar passed through Pike's login credentials on that dashboard. That is the contradiction I keep coming back to. Not the public statement itself, not the moral language, the mechanism that delivered it. The anti-AI statement was scheduled through an automated targeting platform that uses the same engagement algorithms Harry and Meghan called predatory. The condemnation was loaded into the machine it condemned. And Pike knew. He had approved the platform contract 8 months earlier. He had renewed it in April. He had logged in that same morning, the 3rd of August, to adjust the recommendation parameters before the statement went live at 10:15 Eastern. I want to take you inside Pike's workstation that night because the scene tells you everything about who he was in this operation. It was after 11 p.m. The Montecito office was empty. Pike sat alone in front of 3 monitors. The left screen showed the anti-AI statement draft, clean and righteous, ready for distribution the following morning. The center screen showed the targeting dashboard, its recommendation algorithm preview running projections, the engagement optimizer calculating which audience segments would respond most strongly to the phrase predatory AI. The right screen showed the vendor billing portal, 14 months of invoices sorted by tool category, each one approved under his name. He toggled between the statement and the dashboard, adjusting parameters, checking distribution estimates, making sure the condemnation would reach maximum audience impact through the exact system it was condemning. He did not see a contradiction, he saw his job. Now, here is where the first crack appeared. It was not a journalist who found it. It was not a competitor channel running a takedown. It was a synthetic promotional clip, and the circumstances of its discovery are worth sitting with. Sometime in the second week of July, a short preview video surfaced on a Sussex-affiliated channel, 15 seconds long. A face swap composite that blended Meghan's likeness with stock footage to create what looked like a personal endorsement of a wellness supplement. The lip sync was smooth. The lighting matched the Sussex production aesthetic. The clip was AI generated, not crudely, professionally. The kind of synthetic content that uses the exact recommendation, facial recognition and attention capture tools the Sussex statement would later call predatory. Meghan found it on a Tuesday evening. She was in the study at the Montecito house, scrolling the channel's recent uploads on her phone, checking engagement numbers before a scheduled call with the advocacy team the following morning. The clip stopped her mid-scroll. She did not recognize it. She had not recorded it. She had not approved it. She watched it twice, the second time with the screen closer, studying the lip movements. Then she set the phone on the desk and called Pike. 9:17 p.m. Pacific time. I want to sit with the details of that conversation because what Pike said and how he said it matters. Meghan asked one question. Who approved this? Pike paused. 2 seconds, maybe 3. The silence was audible. Then he said an outside vendor had inserted the clip without authorization and that he had already flagged the issue with the platform's content review team. His voice was even, controlled. The answer arrived too smoothly, like something already rehearsed. Meghan did not accept it. She told him to pull the full vendor list, all of it. Names, dates, approval records, and every tool running on their channels. She wanted it on her desk by the following morning. Pike hung up and went to work, not on the vendor list, on the dashboard. Between 9:30 and 11:15 that night, Pike systematically deleted the platform's activity history. He scrubbed the vendor approval log. He removed the automated thumbnail generation records. He cleared the recommendation optimization reports. He deleted the engagement analytics exports for every month prior to June. By midnight, the dashboard showed a clean history that began exactly 30 days prior, as if nothing before that window had ever existed. What Pike did not know was that a junior staff member on the digital team, a 26-year-old named only in internal records by her first initial, had noticed the dashboard history gap the following morning. She had been compiling a routine analytics summary and found that the historical data she normally accessed had vanished. The timestamps did not match. The 30-day window started too cleanly. No system migration produces that kind of perfect cutoff. She quietly took a screenshot of the deletion timestamp, noted the exact time the history gap began, and saved both to her personal cloud drive. She did not report it to Pike. She did not mention it to anyone on the team. She simply kept the record. That screenshot would become the first confirmation that Pike had tampered with the dashboard after Meghan's call. If this breakdown is useful, the like button helps this channel keep reaching people who want the fuller picture. Now stay with me, because what happened next is where this gets genuinely revealing. Harry wanted the billing archive, the full financial record of every tool, every vendor, every contract running on the Sussex digital operation. Pike stalled. He cited vendor confidentiality clauses in the platform's terms of service. He mentioned contract provisions that restricted access to itemized billing data. He suggested that the financial records were held by a third-party payment processor and would require a formal disclosure request that could take weeks. He offered to compile a summary himself instead. Harry's team did not wait for Pike's summary, and here is where Pike's careful control of the dashboard met its limit. The cloud backup existed because the Sussex media operation, like most professional content teams, maintained redundant storage through an enterprise cloud provider. Pike had controlled the primary dashboard and its associated data. He had scrubbed the history, he had deleted the approval logs, but he had not controlled the backup. It sat on a separate server, a routine disaster recovery mirror under the operations manager's credentials that Pike had either forgotten about or never known existed. It took Harry's operations manager less than a day to locate the archive, restore the complete billing history from the untouched mirror, and deliver the unredacted financial records to Harry's office at the Montecito property. Every deletion Pike had performed on the primary dashboard was irrelevant. The backup had captured everything. The archive covered 14 months. Every vendor invoice, every tool approval, every contract renewal, every login record, every single authorization signature. And the name on the approvals was the same from the first entry to the last. Rowan Pike. Not an outside contractor, not a third-party vendor acting independently, not a platform default that Pike had neglected to override. Pike, personally, logged in under his own credentials, approving each tool by name. The list was specific, and I want to name what was on it because the details are what make this land. Automated thumbnail generation using facial recognition and engagement prediction to select the most click-likely frame from each video. Recommendation algorithm optimization that pushed Sussex content into algorithmically determined feed positions based on user behavior profiles. Synthetic preview clip generation, the same technology category that had produced the wellness endorsement composite Meghan found on the channel. Attention capture sequencing, which restructured video openings to match patterns identified by machine learning models as most likely to prevent a viewer from scrolling past within the first 3 seconds. And audience micro-targeting, which segmented potential viewers by emotional profile and served different content versions to different demographic clusters. Every tool on that list had been condemned by name or by category in the public anti-AI statement published on the 3rd of August. I want to name the person who said it most plainly because the harshest verdict in a story like this should come from someone who studies these systems for a living, not from a narrator behind a microphone. Dr. Elena Vargas is a technology ethics researcher at Stanford who had reviewed similar vendor stacks for a congressional briefing in April of this year. When she examined the Sussex billing archive, her assessment was direct. She said the Sussex digital operation was running the same engagement stack that the public statement condemned. Not similar tools, not adjacent technology, not a different product from the same company, the same vendor categories, the same optimization objectives, the same algorithmic infrastructure that the statement called predatory. She said you cannot call a system predatory in a press release and pay for it in a vendor invoice. And if you do, what you are running is not advocacy. It is a branding exercise with a billing address. Sit with that for a moment. The archive did not reveal a minor overlap between tools used and tools condemned. It revealed that the operational foundation of the Sussex media machine was built on the technology the public campaign promised to tear down, and the approvals ran for 14 months, not a single inherited quarter, not a legacy contract that Pike forgot to cancel. 14 months of active, logged, personally approved engagement tools renewed twice, expanded once, and never questioned by anyone in the organization. Here is what that timeline looks like laid flat. Pike approved the first automated targeting contract in May of the previous year, 3 months before Harry's first public comment about screen time. He added recommendation optimization in August. He activated synthetic preview generation in October. He renewed the full suite in January. He expanded the attention capture package in March, the same month Harry gave the interview where he first used the phrase engineered addiction. And he approved the final billing cycle on the 29th of July, 5 days before the predatory AI statement was published. The tools grew alongside the campaign. They were not separate operations running in parallel. They were the same operation, the moral arm and the mechanical arm, both controlled by the same advisor. The confrontation happened in the Montecito office on a Thursday afternoon. I want to take you inside that room because the physical details carry the weight of this scene. The office smells like eucalyptus. There is a framed photograph of Archie on the bookshelf behind Harry's chair. The air conditioning hums. Harry sat behind the desk. Pike sat in the chair across from him, the same chair where he had briefed Harry on digital strategy dozens of times over the past year. The blinds were half drawn, slicing the afternoon light into bands across the desk. Between them, a laptop. The billing archive was open on the screen. 14 months of vendor invoices scrolling in chronological order. Pike's login name beside every single approval. Neither man spoke for the first several seconds. The silence was the kind that fills a room when both people know what is about to happen, and neither one wants to be the person who starts it. Harry did not raise his voice. He did not need to. The archive was talking. Each line item was an accusation. Pike looked at the screen, then at Harry, then back at the screen. His eyes moved to the dashboard tab, the one still open beside the billing records. He knew what was coming before it happened. The screen changed. 2 words in red, centered on a grey background. ACCESS REVOKED. The dashboard Pike had controlled for 14 months went dark. His login was terminated. The cursor stopped blinking. The digital advisory mandate was voided on the spot. Every contract connected to automated audience targeting, recommendation optimization, and synthetic content generation was cancelled by close of business that same day. And here is the detail that stays with me. The campaign brief Pike had been drafting for the next anti-AI statement was still open in the adjacent browser tab. Unsent. The cursor frozen on a half-finished sentence about the moral responsibility of technology companies to protect vulnerable users. He would never send it. The words would stay there, unfinished, beside the dashboard that had just locked him out. The specific losses are worth naming plainly. Pike lost dashboard access. He lost the digital advisory mandate. He lost every vendor contract tied to automated audience tools. He lost the operational role that had made him the quietly indispensable architect of the Sussex digital presence. Rowan Pike loses the digital mandate, dashboard access, and every contract connected to automated audience targeting. That is not a resignation. That is a dismantling. And Dr. Vargas's verdict deserves to sit exactly where it lands. The campaign was never fighting predatory AI. It was employing predatory AI and hoping no one checked the vendor invoices. You cannot condemn the machine while your advisor is feeding it coins. That is genuinely where I land after sitting with all of this. There is one more detail I want to add before the fair reading because it changes the scale of what happened. The junior staff member who took that screenshot, the one who noticed the dashboard history gap, she was eventually asked to confirm the deletion timeline during the internal review. She did. She produced the screenshot, the timestamp, and Pike's deletion pattern. She had kept the record for 3 weeks without telling anyone. When asked why she saved it, she said she'd noticed small things before. Approvals that appeared overnight, tools activated without team discussion, vendor names she did not recognize. She said she started keeping records because something felt wrong, and she could not explain it to anyone with authority. She was the insider who broke Pike's cover story, and she did it with a single screenshot saved to a personal cloud drive. Now, I want to be fair here, and this part matters. There is a reading of this story that is considerably more generous, and it deserves its full weight before I close. Harry and Meghan may genuinely oppose predatory artificial intelligence. They have children. They have expressed consistent and documented concern about online harm. Their advocacy may come from a real place. Using digital tools does not automatically make someone a hypocrite. Every modern media operation, from news organizations to charitable foundations, uses some degree of algorithmic optimization. The line between acceptable automation and predatory exploitation is genuinely difficult to draw, and reasonable people can disagree about where it falls. It is also possible that Pike acted independently, that the couple trusted their digital advisor to make operational decisions within ethical boundaries, and that Pike violated that trust without their knowledge. Firing him, revoking his access, voiding his contracts, those are themselves a form of accountability. You could argue the system worked. The contradiction was discovered internally, the responsible person was removed, and the campaign can continue on a cleaner operational foundation. But here's the fact that sits beside all of that generosity, and I cannot move it no matter how fairly I try to frame the rest. The billing archive shows 14 months of approvals under Pike's login. 14 months. If the couple genuinely did not know what tools were running their media operation for more than a year, they chose not to look. If they did know, the public statement was theatre. Both readings change what the predatory AI phrase means. Neither one restores it to what it was supposed to be. Let me bring this back to where it started. Predatory AI. 2 words. They opened this story as a moral crusade against Silicon Valley. Harry and Meghan standing against big tech. Parents protecting families, advocates holding powerful corporations to account. Those 2 words traveled through an automated targeting platform, past a recommendation algorithm, through an engagement optimizer, and landed on screens around the world because a machine selected the audiences most likely to engage with them. The machine delivered the message, and the machine was the message. I want to follow the money once, because in a story like this, the operational budget tells you what the moral language cannot. The digital advisory contracts Pike managed were not small. The vendor invoices for 14 months of automated targeting, recommendation optimization, synthetic content generation, and attention capture sequencing represent a significant operational budget, considerably more than the production costs of the advocacy content itself. The speaking fees tied to the anti-AI platform, the university invitations, the summit panels, the consultancy rate sheet circulated through the New York Speakers Bureau, all of it was supported by the same engagement infrastructure the campaign condemned. Follow the operational budget line by line, and the crusade becomes a cost center running on the technology it promised to shut down. Both things can be true at once. The concern can be real. The infrastructure can be predatory. And that is precisely what makes this so difficult to sit with comfortably. Pike's dashboard is dark now. Access revoked, still glowing in red. On a screen no one is watching. The cursor no longer blinks. The campaign brief will never be sent. And one tab away, the predatory AI statement remains pinned to the public channel page. It has not been edited, it has not been taken down, it has not been revised or qualified. It sits there, the same 2 words, the same parental concern, the same accusation against big tech, the same moral certainty. But the meaning changed, the phrase did not. The phrase is identical. The predatory AI they warned the world about was running their operation from the inside, approved by their advisor, paid for by their budget, and hidden behind a dashboard that is now permanently dark. It is not a warning anymore, it is a receipt. The predatory AI phrase started this story as a weapon pointed at Silicon Valley. It ends as a mirror, the same 2 words aimed back at the people who chose them. So here is the question I am left with, and I think it is genuinely 2 questions with 2 defensible answers each. First, did Harry and Meghan not know what Pike was running on their behalf for 14 months, or did they choose not to look? If they did not know, the failure is oversight on a scale that raises its own questions about how an advocacy campaign can operate without its principals understanding its tools.